Okay, so if you are watching this, I'm going to start from last week's lesson because I didn't record lesson 4. I'm starting from last week's lesson. I'm doing a revision so that we can still use this for lesson 4, but also this will also include lesson 5. Okay, yeah. I believe after this lesson and next week's lesson, after this lesson and Thursday's lesson, is it Thursday? Yeah. And Thursday's lesson, we will just be doing a lot of questions. Okay. So yeah. Currently, I have 2 schools here, being Ansela and St. Teresa's. Thank you for coming. Okay, so last week we still focused on strings, as in we did a revision last week of strings, so that's why this is here. So I think slicing of strings is in lesson 3 notes, but I revised it here because I think some people had some issues. Now you would notice how we started it. A is equal to hello world. So we created a variable called A and we set it to hello world. If you want to print if you want to print E, it will be print A index 1, right? Because in programming, we start indexing from 0. So H will be 0 and E is 1. So you can here print A index 1 will print E, print A index 0 will print what? H, print. Then we have print A index empty to 5. That's 0 to 5 basically. So this means that print the characters from 0 index to the 5th index. Now take note that the 5th index or the last index which you input is not included in the characters. It is the end, but that end is not included. So 0 to 5 is supposed to be H to this empty space, but it will rather print H to O. That means that's hello, right? So you have that. Then you have 6 to empty space. That means from W to empty space means to the end, right? So D. So we have world. Now, if you do print A index 6 to -2, -2 means it will count from D to L, right? So if it does that, remember that the last element or the last character is not included if it is numbered. So it means that it will end on W or R. R will be the last character that will appear. I hope that is clear. Okay. Then we also looked at a few things like len, right? Len being the function to determine the length of a string. So if you have a string with 10 characters and you say print len of the string, that's if the string is stored in A and you put A inside the len function, it will print 10 because it has 10 characters. Note that it considers spaces as characters. So once the space is inside the string's quotation, it's considered as what? Character. Now, then we have upper.lower. These are methods that are used to convert your characters into uppercase letters or into what? Lower case letters. So you can have .upper, it will change your characters to uppercase letters. .lower, you change your characters to lowercase letters. Then we have .strip. What the .strip method basically does is that it removes empty characters. If I say empty characters, I mean spaces, right? Before and after before the word starts. So if you have, let's say Kofi is going to school as a string, right? And you put a space before the Kofi and a space after the school, strip will remove those spaces at the beginning and at the end of your string. So over here, we experimented with, okay, if we strip a string, you realize that the length of the string will change. The length of the original string and the length of after you strip the string, they will be different. One will be 2 characters less than the first one. So that's what we did over here. We stripped the string and we put it in a new variable, and then we then checked for the length of the new string just to see if it's different from the initial one. So that's strip. Then we have replace. You can replace a character. You can replace characters in a string, or you can even replace words in a string. So let's say you have Kofi is going to school and you want to replace the Kofi with Ama, right? You can do a.replace, okay? And you can, the first parameter has to be what you are replacing, and the second parameter has to be what you are replacing it with. So we can do a.replace, and then we have Kofi in the first part, and we have Ama in the second part. That means that you are replacing Kofi with what? Ama. So you can do it with words, or you can do it with characters. Like if you write hello world, you can change it to jello world by replacing the H at the beginning with what? J. With J. Okay, hope that is clear. If I'm moving and you have any questions, feel free to just ask, okay? Because today we're only 2, so it should be as interactive as possible. So that's it for dot replace. Dot replace can be very useful. Apart from that, we have dot split. Dot split can even be more useful. Okay, St. Teresa's, you can ask the question. St. Teresa's, kindly ask your question. Should I expect the question or I should move on? Should I move on and then you ask when you're ready?
Please move on.
How to capitalize Oh, okay. So you are asking how do you capitalize just the first letter? Is that how is that what you're asking? Oh, okay. Okay. Let's try something. There are a few options that come in mind. So let's just try it. And let's see. You want to capitalize just the first letter. Let me see. Like maybe a name or something. So let's say name is equal to Kofi. And Kofi, now let me use Ama. Ama is easier to see when it's capital. Right. So I want to try a few options. I've not necessarily thought about that. I know that you can capitalize I know you can capitalize the word, the beginning of the word, right? If it's a sentence, that might be a bit tricky. So you let me. So we can do, there's something called dot title. These are not very common because they are not really common scenarios. Because usually if you are inputting a name, you want it to be common, you want to be titled, you want the beginning to be titled, you can just do it. But let me see. So there's something called title, right? Title. There's a method called title. So we can do something like name dot title, right? So if I print name dot title, I believe that should capitalize it for me. Okay. So yeah, name dot title will capitalize the first letter. Okay. Please, is that okay? Name dot title. I didn't put this inside because it's not very used, but that's a good question. That's a good question. That is a good question. So name dot title, right? Okay, so you can use the method title to what? To capitalize the first letter, right? You can use the method title to what? To capitalize the first letter. But then again, you can also use replace to do that, right? You remember replace, right? So replace, if there's a small letter and you want to change to a big letter, you can use what? Replace. I think replace will help you to be more specific. What is it? I think we treated replace here. Yeah. So if you have a small letter, let's say Amma here is a small letter and you want to make it a big letter, you can say, you can replace that and it will replace the first one for you. Did we do replace with index? I think we did replacing with index. Let me see. I think we did it in the previous, yeah, insert. So this insert, right? So insert allows you to remove, insert allows you to position a new, okay, but this, I think this has to do with a list. This has to do with a list. Sorry, I'm mixing the list and the strings. So yeah. But you can do a replace, okay? The replace will also what? Work. Okay. The replace would also work. So you can use name.title, which will change, which will capitalize the first letter of the string, or you can use replace if it's a particular character that you want to replace the capital letter. You can do replace. Saint Teresa, did I help? If I helped, do let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm glad. Okay, so let's move on.
Please, I have a question.
Okay, ask.
Written type.
If you said Amma with a small a, you wanted to capitalize the first a, and the replacement, she wouldn't replace any a that is, and you're supposed to like replace any small a that's inside that variable, and you replace it. You want to like change all the small a's into capital.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that it depends on the situation, right? So you have to know the best fit for it. The replace is just a suggestion if the A is if it's particular, right? Because depending on where the Amma is, in your string, okay, dot title might not be the appropriate thing for you to use. Do you understand? And it might not necessarily be AMA. So that's what I'm saying, that it depends on the situation. Different scenarios might have a better fit or a better option. So if you notice, we have replace, right? We also have things like even dot upper dot lower. You could play around with dot upper dot lower to get what you need. Okay. If I say you could play around with dot upper dot lower, it's possible that if neither scenarios work, right, you might have to change everything to dot upper and just change that particular one to dot lower. Do you get me? So it depends on the scenario. Title is limited because title means that it will change the first letter of the word. Do you get me? But if you put in a sentence, title will act differently. Do you get me? So if you have a sentence whereby, let's say, watch this. If I do Ama Kofi, Ama Brown, and let's say Ceci, right? Now watch what would happen. You see, it changed the first character of each word. You see what is happening? It changed the A, it changed the B, it changed the next and it changed the next S, right? So it is situational. It is situational. So if you have a scenario whereby, let's say in this, whereby you wanted to change B of Brown to capital, you can easily use replace, but you can't easily use that with AMA, because with that AMA, it will replace the A. Okay, it will replace the first A, right? Then we also have so that's why I'm saying that in certain cases, you might even have to use the upper if you realize that the capital letters that you need are significant. Let's say they appear only once in the string, right? Then you can use upper and then use what? Lower later to put the rest back in the lower form. Please understand what I'm saying? So it's situational. Sometimes the situation will demand a title. Sometimes the situation will demand a replace. Do you get it? Sometimes the situation might even demand an insert and a delete. Do you get me? So you can delete characters also. Please, do you follow?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So it is very situational. It depends on the kind of changes that you want to make to the string. Okay. Yeah. It depends on the kind of changes that you want to make to it. You might have to use this or that, or a combination of this and that and that. It depends. It will all depend on the question. Once you start solving questions, all of these things should pop up, and then we can have a lot of examples on our hands. Okay. Okay. Where did I get to? I think I got to split. I got to split. Okay, now when we talk about splits, we are talking about being able to separate items in a string, right, into a list. Okay. Now I explained why this is useful. I explained it last week. I'm coming to move this thing here to the top so that it makes more sense to anyone who is seeing it. Okay. Now we spoke about split in the sense that split allows you to sort of get individual items or elements from the string. So if you have a string and you want to split it, first of all, you need something to serve as the point of splitting, right? And we use the example here saying that if I requested for 5 schools, okay, and then and I'll tell the person to use the comma to separate the schools, okay, then I wanted to now list the schools that the person had entered. I'll need to separate the schools into, right, into individual elements or into individual items. So if you remember, this is what we did to that. So something like this. So Saint Anthony, no, this is actually a list. Where am I? Let me go back here. Okay, so here we requested for an input saying that schools is equal to enter 5. Let me print the schools first. Okay. So enter 5 top schools. Now, if we enter we requested that the person separates it with what? A minus. The reason being that in our program, we indicated the separator as a what? As a comma, not minus. We indicated the separator as a comma. Okay. So St. Rose's. Now this means that if I use the comma somewhere, it will identify it as what? As a separator. So that should not be done. I've forgotten the schools. Right. So initially it printed the string, and this is the string that I entered. Okay, this is a string that I entered, and then later it printed the list of strings, right? The list simply means that these are individual elements that we've just put in a list form. Okay, these are individual elements that we just put in a list form. So that is what we did over here. And then the strip was just because we introduced strip here, just because after, so introduce strip here because after let me remove this. Keep having to go back to this. Okay, so you see this. So we introduced a strip here because after we printed the items one by one, we realized that Kofi was lined up well, but Ama, Kojo, and Kwamina were not lined up well. So here is the string that we created. We split the strings, right? And then we printed them individually by using indexes, right? So we printed them individually, but the reason why they appeared one space away from how Kofi is aligned is basically because we left spaces here. You see these spaces? So we went back to our strip, okay, our strip method, and we used our strip method to remove those spaces from each one of them before we printed it. So if I remove this, you see that it would print and it will properly align. Okay. So that's how we just combine the strip and the split. Okay. So that was that for split, strip, and all that. Then we came to concatenating strings. Concatenating strings, I think you guys understood it very well, so that wasn't a problem. All right. Okay, so with the concatenation of strings, I introduced various variables: first name, last name, age, monthly salary, and job, right? So, and we were supposed to print something like a statement for someone, but he's a 4-year-old teacher who makes dash in a year. That's what we're supposed to print. And the dash would be his salary multiplied by 12, right? So we're supposed to write a string or create a concatenation or concatenate all the variables in a way that gives us a sentence like that, and we can easily change the parameters and still get the sentence that we need. Okay, so over here you can see we have first name plus space plus last name. The reason why the space is so that the first name doesn't join to the last name. So we are creating a space. Plus is what 34. Now the 34 we stored it. The 34 is actually 29. We stored it as an integer, and here we have to cast it. Okay, casting means we need to show it as a certain data, right? And here we are showing it as a string. Okay, age is originally a number, but we are showing it as a string so that it can be concatenated with other strings. Note that you cannot concatenate integers and strings, okay? Meaning that you can't just join an integer and a string. Okay, hope that makes sense. So that was it for the concatenation. We're able to do all this concatenation to get a sentence like this. Then I also mentioned another way of concatenating it, or another way of formatting it, rather. I think that's a better word. So we had print this format, okay, or print in a string format. First name, last name is age, year old. Now you realize that the difference between this and this is this we are not concatenating. We are just taking the variables like they are and just dropping it in this curly brackets, right? So that eliminates any form of casting that you have to do. It also eliminates any form of plus, that's concatenation. And it reduces the work by preventing you from having to be careful of the spaces that you leave in this, because however you want it to appear is how you write it, okay? So this way of formatting tends to be very useful or very easy. But the thing with this is that once you are doing formatting, you cannot do computation in that formatted string. You have to do the computation out of, or the calculation, sorry, out of the string before you then use it inside. Okay. All right. So any questions so far before I just jump onto the next string? Any question? Okay. So when that was done, then we went to lists, right? List was where we ended everything for lesson 4. We went to lists and we created a list. Then we said to create a list, you need the square bracket, okay? Then I gave you guys the assignment of learning sets and tuples on your own, because set and tuples is just like list, but they have certain differences. For example, when you're creating a set, you use a curly bracket. When you're creating a tuple, you use a normal bracket, okay? And they have certain features which you can simply read about, okay? I think what I'll do is that I'll send you a link for you to read about, just so that I'm sure that everybody has that. Okay. Or if there's time, or when we are doing the questions, when we are doing the problem sets, I will bring it up again and just treat it quickly in it. Yeah, but it'll practically be a repetition of a lot of things in lists. Okay, just a few changes. Okay, let's go on. So in lists, a lot of the things in lists are similar to strings, right? So one, you can tell the number of items in a list by running the len function. Okay, you can append. Okay, you can add an item to the list. Okay, by doing that's the dot append, using the dot append method. So here we added Good Shepherd to the list. Here, then you can do an extend. An extend is if you have list 1 and you have list 2 and you want to put them together, right? So if you have this list and you have that list, so I created a new list called New Schools, okay? And then I extended the old schools with the new schools. So I extended schools, that's this over here, with the new schools. So that will give you an addition. So that will give you not just St. Anthony, Our Lady, St. Teresa's, and Bishop Isian, but it will also add what? Good Shepherd, Notre Dame, and St. Rose's to it. So that's what we did. Then we have insert. Okay, insert on the other hand allows you to insert new items, right, to a particular position on the list. So if you have an existing list and you want to put in a new list, but you don't want it to go to the end of the list, because append will put Good Shepherd at the end of this list. But you want it to be at the beginning, you have to use an insert, and there you tell it exactly where to put it with the index at the beginning. Okay. Yeah. Then we have remove. So for remove, it's just removing whatever item you want. So just state the item clearly and it will be removed. Yeah. Dot pop is basically removing, but instead of stating the item, you are stating where the item is. Okay, so if you want to remove index 1 item, you state 1 inside the dot pop method and it will remove it. Dot clear means make the list empty, right? Dot count basically means where like what's the position of the item, right? So if you don't know the position of a certain item, but you know the name of the item, you can use dot count to find where the item is. Okay, to find, what am I doing? Sorry, dot count tells you how many, hey, how did I confuse this? Dot count, sorry, tells you how many of that item exists, right? Dot count will tell you how many of what that item exists, right? Sorry about that. So if you have St. Teresa's, let's say you have a couple of St. Teresa's in your list, you want to know how many St. Teresa's are in this list or in this database, you can use dot count, the dot count method. That will tell you that, okay? Then we have coming. So that was that. Then if you want to list, just like we did in strings, where you want to list from the second character to the fifth character, or this character to that character, here too you can list from any character to any character as well, right? And then you can use that to do it. So if you want if you want, let's say, from the second item to the 8th item, you can do it there. Note that the last item that you include will not be included in the list that you print at the end of the day. Okay. Okay, then we also have, I think that was where we ended for list. Then I introduced input. Okay, input is basically, because usually to store items in a variable, you can put it in yourself, but sometimes you'll be required to ask a user for some information, right? So then we learned about inputs. That was the last thing we did. Learned about inputs, and then we learned to take an input from the user. So to do that is basically schools. You create a variable and you say it's equal to, then you write the input function, and inside the input function, you state what you want the user to see or the question that you want to ask. Okay. Okay. So the mistake I made when I was talking about what is it? When I was talking about count, okay. When I was talking about count, it brought to mind another thing. So let's do that. Let's add that here. So where's the variable? So we have schools is equal to this, that, this, that, this, that. So if we have schools dot index, then we have a lady. Oh, sorry. Okay, so excuse me. Okay, sorry, just my throat. Okay, so as I was saying, the mistake I made earlier was the dot count. Okay, I was confusing the dot count with something else, so I decided to treat what I was confusing it with. So the dot count, as I said earlier, it tells you how many of a particular item are in a list. But sometimes you want to know what's the position of a certain character. So like if you have a long list of items, so you want to know what's the position of our lady in the list. You get me? You can use the dot index method. Okay, you can use what the dot index method. The dot index method will allow you to know the position of your item in the list. So if I pull Bishop Isian, it tells me that Bishop Isian is at index what? 3. Okay, so that will be it for, let me move this to somewhere inside. I'll put it just after count. Okay, so this was, I think this was lesson 4, lesson 3. That's what we just revised. Okay, so now let's go to what we need to do for today. I want to treat dictionaries first of all. Okay, so we'll treat dictionaries. We'll treat dictionaries First of all, after dictionaries, then we will now move to other things. We'll move to if statements, right? Then we'll do while loop. Then we'll do for loop, a for loop. Okay. Then we will treat functions. Right after that, then we will start taking in some intense questions and solving problems left, right, center. That will be the fun part of everything that we are doing, honestly. That will be the fun part of everything. So hopefully, I believe by then everyone would have been done with a mock, and that should be more interactive. And that will bring out a lot of questions, trust me. So you shouldn't miss that. All right. Okay, so let's go to dictionaries. Now, I will not erase this. Nowadays, I'll just keep everything on one page. Maybe when I'm done, I can even send you guys the code so that you can use it as a reference. So we are treating dictionaries. Note that I have skipped tuples and sets, okay, because they are very similar. Now, dictionaries basically, you can say they are used to store data that come in pairs, right? When a certain data comes in pairs, you can use dictionary to kind of like group it nicely. Okay, usually you call it the key and the value. Okay, the key and the value. Okay, so let's begin. How do you create a dictionary? Okay, so I said it's the dictionary data comes in what? In pairs. So let's say we use an example. Let's take a car example. I think this is the common one I see around. So let's say car. Okay. We are storing information about a car. When you're creating a dictionary, it's like creating a set. Okay. A dictionary is like creating a set. Being that you use curly brackets. Okay. You use what? Curly brackets. So I'm going to create a dictionary. A dictionary will have two sides. It will have the key and the value. Okay, the key and the value. So a car, what kind of data can we get in a car? Let's see the brand, right? So it's supposed to be a string. So here we'll have the brand. So what's the brand of the car? Let's say it's I'm not really like into cars, so I'll be lost kakra over here. I mean, I'm into cars, but the only car I'm into is a Tesla. So I have no idea what the rest of them are doing in the world. Okay, so let's say, okay, so why don't I use a Tesla? So brand is Tesla. The model of the car is Model S, Model Y. Okay, let me just use the Model Y. The Model Y is still pretty fresh. The year okay. So, well, we can store the year as a string or as a number, right? Any of them would work. But if you store it as a string, it means you can't use it like a number unless you cast it. So it depends on how you want to use the parameter year. Okay. If you plan to treat it like a number, then it will be better to store it as a number. If you want to treat it like a string, then it's better you just store it as a string, right? So that's how you create your dictionary. Okay. So dictionary will have a key and it will have a value. So brand is a key, Tesla is a value, model is a key, Model Y is a value, year is a key, year is a value. I could exempt the model part of the bar. I'll just leave it. So if you print, if let's say I come and print car, let me remove, okay. If I print car, what did I do wrong? A second. Not seeing what I did wrong. Model, yeah, brand. Did I use the wrong? Okay. A second, can you give me a second? Let me check something. Oh yeah. I forgot my comments. Yeah. Sorry. I forgot my comments. Okay. So I forgot my comments. So note that it's just like, as I said, it's just like a set. Okay. It's just like a set. The reason why I have done it this way, or the reason why it's better to do it this way, so that you can clearly see the items one by one. Okay. But if you put them together, you should get the same thing. Okay. A dictionary is just like a list where you have another type of list being what? A set. Okay. So if I do it like this, I'll still get the same thing, right? But for display reasons, that's why I do it like this. It's just easier to see. Okay, yeah. So each item needs to be separated. I didn't do that. So that's why it wasn't working. Okay. So each item needs to be separated. So this is the list. This is the dictionary, okay? It's just like a list, but they come in pairs, or just like sets, but what? They come in what? Pairs. Okay. Now, if you need to print, here we are printing the entire set, okay? If you need to print just one, right? One key or just one item from the list, because this is a list with brand, model, and what year, okay? If you need to print, then you just have to do your print, and then you have your car variable. And this time, instead of saying, usually when you're doing a list, you say maybe car index 1, car index 2. This one, you just need to state what you are printing, as in the key. Okay, you just need to write the key that you are printing, right? So this is the brand. I want to get the brand. Okay, I want to get the brand of the car. So if I do this, it printed Tesla. Since we've done this one, let me deactivate this. So here, I want to get the brand of the car. So I'll say print brand, and then it will print what? It will print the Tesla, right? So if I want to say print the year. Oh, sorry. Print car year. Right? It will print the year of the car as well for me. Beautiful. Okay. So assuming I wanted to print a statement, right, based on the values, right, based on the values that I have stored in the car or the values that I've used in my dictionary, I could easily do something like, let's say a customer comes to a car rental shop, buys a car. Let's add the cost of the car. Right, let's add the cost of the car, and I'll do it in USD, Ghana cedi. I'll do it in dollars. So we can have something like, I think, let's say $35,000. Okay, so I could do something like, I could say car statements, right? Car purchase statements. Okay, and we can either use concatenating to create it, or we can use, how do I say it? Or we can use formatting, right? The formatting that I taught you. So let's use formatting, and it will make everything easier. So if you've forgotten what formatting looks like, this is how it looks like. Okay, this is what we're coming to do. Okay, yeah, I can print it directly, but I want to put it in a variable first before I print it. So we can say you just purchased a, you get me? So you just purchased a, then we need a brand of the car, right? So to get the brand of the car, we'll say car. I need to put this in curly brackets. We say car brand, right? So that will take care of the car brand. That's Tesla. So we just purchased a Tesla. Let me put Model Y here. Yeah. Just purchased a Tesla. Then I need to put the model. So sorry, car model. Am I doing this well? No, I'm not. I'm forgetting some things. So model. Then I will have where am I? Okay. So you just purchased a car, this. Let me add the year. Okay. Year. So that will be what? Year. Okay. Hope I've not forgotten anything. Yeah. 4. Then I'll have cost. Hope I'm using the right person. Oh, I see the problem. I shouldn't be using my. Because I was looking at this, this thing is not right. Okay. I hope you see what I'm doing. What I'm doing is basically, I noticed that the color coding wasn't going well. And that was because I was using double quotations and using double quotations still inside. So that was certainly not going to end well. I was seeing it, but I was wondering why that was happening before I remembered that, oh, yeah, this is it. I'll just add visit the nearest. Let's assume you purchase it online, right? So visit the nearest, let's say, depot to pick up your. Then I'll add Tesla again. That is car brand. Okay. Yeah, so that should work. So then when I'm done, I can say print what car purchase statement. Okay, there's a problem, which was expected. I didn't bring the comma here once again. Another problem. I'm sure I've mixed up some of the. So I'm looking at the error, and please note that solving errors is equally as important, right? Because all this is like typing and stuff like that. So you definitely make mistakes. So let me just use this opportunity to help you and teach you how to do something called debugging. Okay. So usually when you have an error, right, you see it. Let me clear the screen so that you see the error like fresh. So usually when you have an error, it's going to look something like this, right? It will say trace back, meaning where it's from, right? Most recent call last. Okay. So it's telling us, you see where the arrow is pointing? It's telling us that there's a little problem there. So let's see what is happening. So car purchase statement, okay. And then say you just purchased the syntax error. Says that the F string mismatched. Kelly and the square bracket. Okay, let me see. Let me visit how I did these ones. See any mistake I made. So there's definitely a problem with the string that I created. So this you purchased a car. I use a curly bracket here. Okay, I didn't do this part. I didn't close that. So I've solved that. Is it somewhere else? I didn't close this too. Oh, okay. I didn't close a lot of them. Okay, so I've closed this, right? Is there anything else I haven't done right? Okay, let me clear the error and try it again. Okay, it's working now. So you just purchased the Tesla Model Y 2020 for $35. Visit the nearest depot to pick up your Tesla. Okay, so you all saw the error. It told me that there was an error with the format of the string, right? And usually the thing is that the ID, depending on the type of ID that you're using, it might give you a better breakdown of the error, right? This IDE is a very simple, lightweight IDE. IDE meaning integrated development environment. This is more like an editor actually, but this environment is very like simple. It doesn't do much, honestly. So it won't give you a detailed error analysis. Some of them will give you a very detailed error analysis. Like if you are using something like PyCharm, you're likely to get a more detailed error analysis. Okay, by using something like PyCharm to come with its own challenges, meaning that you should be more familiar with it because it can be a bit convoluted. Okay. Now what you saw was that it was telling us that it gave us possible issues, right? It says that the format string is wrong, right? That was, so it was pointing to this F, right? Now the reason why it was pointing to it is because it can't tell whether it is from here, but then it also showed us the curly brackets, normal brackets, and the square brackets, saying that there's something wrong with the brackets, right? So then I came here and I realized that I hadn't closed these brackets, and that was the problem. Okay. So this is a very common error, especially when you are using something with a lot of brackets. Okay, it's a very common error. I could have probably done it easier with concatenating, because concatenating won't have a lot of curly brackets. You know, this one, because it has the square brackets and it has the curly brackets, it can get a bit tricky. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, now let's just, unlike lists, okay, you can't have duplicate keys in a dictionary. Like you can't say that the cost is this and come and say that the cost again is this. Sorry. It's not possible for you to have duplicate keys inside a dictionary. Okay, it's kind of like sets. Okay, sets too has the same properties, unlike lists. Okay, that's why I say lists and sets are similar, but they just have some few differences. And hopefully, as we do the examples, you guys will see it. Okay, so now the question is, what happens when you have something like this? Okay, so let's see. Let me comment this out so that you see what is going to happen. If we have this and I want to print out the cost, right, of the car, right? It means that I'm going to say car, then I'm going to put the key cost in it. So what's it going to do? What's it going to do? What did I do wrong again? Okay, I'm coming. Let's, instead of printing this, just so that I see what is actually going on, let me print car. See, oh, I made the same error again. I've made this error 1,000 times. Okay. So this will communicate the same thing I want to communicate. So if you happen to have duplicated keys, right? what's going to happen is that you have brand, Tesla, model, Model Y, year 2020, and cost. It will always pick what? The last key's value. You get me? So if you have cost 35 and you have cost 40, it will print the last cost that was stated. So if I should print like I wanted to do, if I should just print cost, it will print what? The last value. And that is going to be it. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you want to know the number of items in your list, in your dictionary, it's the same thing. Okay. If you want to know the number of items in your dictionary. So I'm coming. Let me put them in topics so that you guys can see. So far we have treated, if you want to print them one by one. Okay, so duplicates, right? Okay, you let me go on. Some of them I can't really put like a topic to it. So I wanted to put a topic to it so that you can easily see what we have covered. Okay, so now you know that if there's a duplicate, if a certain value, if a certain key has been duplicated, it takes what? The last value that was stated, right? Okay. So that is that. Where are we now? Okay. Also, I mentioned that, let me not slip, just brush over this. Also, I mentioned that the values in a duplicate can be what? Hey, in a dictionary can be different. So you can have an integer, you can have a string, you can have what? A Boolean. Okay. Also keep that in mind. Okay. Just like a list, actually. Then, okay, let's go on. I've already taught you how to access an item from a list. Okay. You can access what? An item from a list by using the index method that we use. But this time, you just have to state the key, right? So print car with a key year, print car with a key brand. You get me? So print the brand of the car, print the year of the car. That's what we have been doing all this while. That's accessing items from the list. Okay. Now, you can also, apart from accessing it with just the index method that we know, or with the method that looks like the index, you can also use a dot get method. Okay. Dot get method is probably something that's more common in other languages, right? It will be more common in other languages apart from Python programming. But in Python programming too, you can use the dot get method. So you can do something like print, what, let's say car dot get, right? And then you put it inside. So car dot get model, get it? So this should, let me remove this. Let me deactivate this. What did I just do? And this should give us a model Y. So dot get method can be used in place of the square brackets thing to get. So usually we'll do car square brackets and then we'll enter what the key that we want, right? We can also do car dot get and then you enter what you want. Okay. Okay. Now, if you want to let's say, instead of the values, let's say you want to know the keys, right, of your, let me comment this out. Let's say you want to know the keys of, sorry, of your dictionary. there's a dictionary set there, and you want to know, oh, what are the keys? Okay, what are the parameters, right? Which serve as the keys. You can use the dot key method. So you can say print car dot what keys, and that should print the keys in the dictionary, right? So dictionary keys tells you brand, model, year, and then cost, right? So that will give you that. So dot keys would print to you, or will give you noted. Yeah, I know some of you couldn't join. I understand. So I'm making sure I record everything today so that you guys can watch it. Okay. Yeah. And last week I didn't record, so I went over what we did last week, and I'm recording this in addition. So you have 2 lessons in one recording today. Okay. So it's not a problem. I identified the challenge with the mocks, so I'm doing my best to help you guys. Okay. So here you can derive the keys of a dictionary, right? So if someone gives you a data with a set of dictionary, with a dictionary set, you can derive what are the keys of this, or what are the parameters that are serving as the keys for this dictionary, right? And once you know the keys, you can get the what? You can get the values, right? So that makes life easy for you. Okay. Now, if you want to change, if you want to add, let's start with the add, okay? Let's assume you want to add a new key and value to your dictionary. You already have an existing dictionary set, right? But you want to add a new key and value. Let's say first you weren't thinking about the color of the car, but now you want to consider the color of the car. So all you'd have to do is do car, which we all know, which we already have its values here, the keys and the value. So you have to do car, and then you introduce a color, right? This is looking like a list, like you're playing around with a list. But so you introduce color, then you state what the color should be. Jesus Christ. What's happening to my tongue? So car color black, right? Once I do this, it would include it into my dictionary set. Then let me now print the keys again so that we'll see car dot what keys, right? So the first print of the keys is what we did earlier. We printed the keys and we saw brand, model, year, cost. Note that cost will not repeat itself because a dictionary does not have duplicates, okay? It will just take the last cost that is being shown, okay? Now, if I should print this, you see that the first list in the dictionary has no color, but the second one has what? A color key added to it. Hope we understand. Okay, brilliant. Now we have looked at .get, right? .get is just like saying car square bracket brand, right? it will get the exact value of the key you want. We've looked at dot keys. Hey, looks like everybody's leaving the meeting. I'm sure it's internet, so I'll not even complain. We've looked at dot keys. That will print the keys out for us. Now we're going to look at dot values. Okay, dot values will just return the values of the list. So if I do print car dot what values, just like we did print car dot keys, it would also print the values. So we have dictionary values are Tesla Model Y 2020 40,000 and what and black. I hope you know why the 35,000 is not showing. I'm saying it again. 35,000 is not showing because we have two costs over there. Two cost 35,000, cost 40,000. And dictionaries act like sets. They do not have duplicates. So it will just take the last value of the cost and it will use that. Okay. Okay. Now, what if you have a value and you want to change the value? We've learned to introduce a new key and value, but what if you want to change the value of an existing key? So let's say someone orders for a car and wants red, but now the person wants black. Wait, wanted black, but now the person wants red. How do we change the value of an existing key? So we basically need to do, it's similar to what we did, where we did something like car color. Where's car color? Did I delete it? It's here. Where we did car color is equal to black. We basically have to do the same thing, right? So we'll do car color, but this time you just have to indicate what you want it to be. So red, okay? So if I should do this, let me hashtag this. I'll leave this. I'll leave this. So I'll print the car value when I'm coming. I want to make sure I'm not removing something that should be there. So I'll print the car values and then I'll change it to black. Then I'll print the car values again. Right. Okay. Right. So in the first scenario, you can see that the value is black. In the second scenario, you can see that the value is what? Is red. Right. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Where to now? Please, those who have been with us, basically Ancilla School, hope you are following and hope my train of thought is clear enough, right? Okay, I wanted to finish with dictionaries today. I don't think we'll be able to do if statements, but let's finish with dictionaries today. I'll push for us to finish dictionaries, even though the time is so. So now we know how to change the values of stuff, right? Okay. We know how to change the values of stuff. Okay, now in a scenario where you want to change the just a second there. Okay, let's continue. What was I saying? So I was saying that in a scenario where you want to change where you want to return each item, okay, in a dictionary as a tuple in a list. Okay, let me do it so that you can see it clearly before we even talk about it. It will be easier for you to understand. I want the color to still be there. So I'm gonna keep this, keep the color red. Then yeah, let's proceed. So we can write something like let's do print card dot what items. Oh, okay. My laptop has blocked my own view. Okay. Now what this has done is it has combined tuple and list. Okay. So it has changed your dictionary basically into what? A tuple and a list. The tuple is the first one inside, brand Tesla. You get me? It has a normal brackets. That's a tuple. A tuple uses normal brackets. Okay. So it has created a tuple for each what key and value. And it has created a list for the entire dictionary. So brand and Tesla form one tuple, okay? Model and Model Y form one tuple, year and 2024 another tuple, cost and 40,000 from another tuple, color and ref from another tuple. And all these have been grouped into tuples. And then the tuples have now been grouped into what? A list. So you can see a list. The first list item is the tuple brand Tesla. The second list item is the tuple model Y. Okay. So that's basically it. You changing this to, you are basically changing it into a list, but inside the list, there's another tuple, which is similar to a list. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. There are some few things I want us to do it later, like to check if a key exists, right? To check if a key exists. It's kind of like using an if statement. So I'll treat it when we get to if statements. Okay. Check if a key exists. I'll treat it when we get to if statement. Okay, so I've already taught you how to change a value, right? I've already taught you how to change a value. But apart from changing the value, so when changing the value, I showed you this, right? Which can change a value. So I think I use a red. So we change the color to red. Now you can update. You can what? You can update the dictionary itself. So let's say it was maybe the color was red. Okay, we can update it back to black. Okay, it's very similar to the change, honestly. It's very similar to the change. But this time you use the method update. That's all. You just use the method update. So instead of this, another way to do this, I'm going to do it side by side. Another way to do this, how do I do it side by side? Another way to do this is actually by doing something like car dot what update, right? And then inside the updates, you are practically going to create something like a set. Okay, so we'll say year, then we are creating a mini version of the dictionary you created, but this one is just for the color, right? Sorry, color, not year. We want to update the color. So let me use blue, right? So you can do something like this. And here you can see that the color has now changed to what? To blue. Okay. All right. So that's just another way of doing our changing what? A value. Okay. That's just another way of changing a value. Hash this out. The same thing. Let me write both produce the same result. Okay. So that's update. I believe we already know how to add an item, right? So over here, I showed how to add a color, right? First, we didn't have color at all, but here I added the color black, right? So since there's no color, this line of code added the color. In the same way you did the color, you can also, in the same way we did this color blue, we can also do update when there is no color at all. You get it? Because what we did was we're changing the color, right? By here, we are updating it with a new key called what? Color, right? So it will follow the same approach actually. So it will just be car dot what? Update when there is no color. So we are now going to create the key and the value color. So I'm going to do the same thing black. Okay, no, let me see. Let me use green. Right. So if I run this, it will print here. I'm printing. Note that this items that I'm printing, I'm no longer printing a dictionary. I'm actually printing a list. So if I run this, that's changed the color to white. In this case, there's no color, so it's actually creating the key, and then before it inserts a value. Okay, hope that is clear. So that is that. Now to remove, right? If we want to remove an item, there are different ways we can remove. We can use pop. You saw pop in list, right? We can do the same thing here. We can do pop item, okay? Pop item, the difference between pop and pop item is, I think pop item just removes the last thing in the dictionary, okay? It just removes the last item. Then we can use delete, that's DEL, right? We can use delete. Delete kind of works like pop. It just removes a specific item, right? Okay. Note that you can actually use delete to delete the entire dictionary. So be careful with that. And then you can use clear, okay? So let me just, I've mentioned them. Let me just run through them quickly so that you guys will see what they do. Let me hash this out. Okay, so let's write them down. So we're going to have pop. So we have something like car dot what? Pop. Now, what are we popping? We are popping, let's say we want to remove the year, right? So then you are popping the year. right? So this will remove the year. Let's say car dot pop item. Pop item will just remove the last item. You don't have to add anything to it again. Pop item will just remove the last item. Then we have delete. Delete works like this. Delete car. Then you need to tell it what exactly you want to delete. Let me delete the cost, right? So I'm deleting the car cost. Note that delete, you can delete the entire, if you do delete car, it will just delete the entire dictionary for you, right? Then we can do car dot clear. That will clear every data in the car example. Okay, so we can have, so let me I'm not printing them out, so let me print them out. So print car.pop here. Print car.pop item. Then let me do print the deletes. I want to check something first. Okay, let's hold on with the delete then. Let's do these three. Print car.pop. Car already has its value. So okay, I'm coming. My view has been blocked. Okay, so in the first case, we are deleting one, the 2020. In the second case, we are deleting this, right? So if I'm supposed to print, I should have probably printed the car rather. That would be wise. So let's do one. I think we have to do one by one for you guys to actually see. So car.pop here, because with this one, it was printing what it has deleted, right? But that's not what we want. We want to see, okay. So print car.pop, so it deletes 2020, that's a year. And when you look inside, you can see that the list no longer has the year of the car. Hope that makes sense. Then let's go to print car. In the second example, we deleted the cost. Okay, we deleted cost by using car.pop item. The reason why it deleted cost is because the pop item will just delete the last item on the list. Okay, delete the last item on the list. Now, so when we printed it this time, it printed everything, but it ignored the cost because the cost no longer exists, right? Okay, and the delete will also do the same thing. Okay, delete will also do the same thing. Now clear. Let's use clear and see. Print car. So clear. Let me do it again. This is taking clear none, and then it gives you an empty set. Okay. All right. So the rest of it has to do with looping dictionaries and doing some other things, but we'll hold on to that. So when we have done loops, okay. So on Thursday, we should be able to do if statements, while loops, and repeat. Okay, if statement, while loops, and repeat. And with that, we will come back to all these things that we skipped because they involve loops. Okay. All right. So we'll end here. Any question? We'll end here. But if you have a question, let me know. If there's no question, we have used way more. We've gone way beyond our time. So if there's no question, I will end the class here. And then the video, I'll try and get the video to you guys before the end of the day so that people can, work on it, watch it before the next class. Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming. That is Ansela. And I'm not sure how to pronounce the other name, so I'll not try. But thank you all for coming. I'll see you in the next class, okay? Bye.